Good morning, everybody. This is Danita 2.0 coming at you again. Uh, I'm with more stories or the more information about my car accident on June 18th, 2019. Um, this day started like any other day. It was boring. I had three of my children with me, and that was a cool thing. My oldest son, um, and my mid kid, and my oldest daughter were with me, my three oldest children. And my two of them were, trying to get their place in life, so they had come down to stay with us for a little bit. My husband was in Florida working. Um, this particular day, my oldest son was staining our deck that we had just had installed. And so we had gone to Jasper that morning to get stain and to get a replacement for equipment that we got in the wrong equipment. So we go back to Jasper. It's a dreary day. It's also my mid kid's 28th birthday. It's my daughter's first day on a job that she had gotten, so we were going to be taking her to work at 3 o'clock that afternoon. Um, After we'd gone out and done the the um the errands for the deck, we come back. I go in, take a nap. The thing that I remember was when I woke up from my nap, my kids were in the living room. Well, they were in the living room laughing, and I said, "Y'all having too much fun without me." So we start prepping up to leave to go out and take her to work. My mid kid has had a couple of drinks, so he's feeling good. He wants to go get a burger from his job, which is the job where my daughter is getting ready to go work her first shift. And we head out. And honestly, that's the last conscious thought that I have leaving and getting into my vehicle. I have no memory of driving out of my yard. I have no memory of anything until I remember vaguely being in the hospital talking to my kids. And at that time, it was that's kind of a blurry memory, but I remember talking to my oldest son, my daughter, and they were telling me that Tehran and I had been thrown from the vehicle and we were the most injured. The rest was a blur. The rest was me imagining that I had gone under the ocean into a bar, and I was on a beach with Mexicans that were trying to get in across the border, and they were made to become soldiers if they wanted to get over here. It was just a mess. But the one thing that I kept saying was I was sitting on my deck. I'd never sat on this deck after it had been stained. But I kept seeing myself sitting on this deck. I kept seeing myself interacting with my granddaughter, Diane, and it was disconcerting because at some point I'm guessing I got put on a 72-hour hold because I began to call the police. After the doctor, I always had this thing about my bedroom. So I never was like a person who entertained in my bedroom. So when the doctors were talking to me, I would one time I'm like, I'm not comfortable with you guys standing over me talking. Can I sit on the edge of the bed while we talk? He told me no. We proceeded to go on and finish speaking, and then I asked him again. Well, if I can't sit right here, can I sit in that chair over there? And he told me no. And I said, why? He said, because you won't walk. And so after a beat, I said, now that I know that, can I go home? And the man said, I can't let you go yet. I can't let you go. In my mind, immediately I went to conspiracy. They were going to try to take my organs. So one time I was in a room, and I felt like I had to use the bathroom. So I kept calling, and then someone stuck their head at my door and said, you better stop doing that or they're never going to let you out of here. And just started the cycle all over again. So I ended up being there for 2 months. I ended up feeling as though there was not a lot that was being done in the way of therapy for me. It was a disconcerting experience. I'm not a big fan of hospitals or healthcare in general, and to have been injured in a way that I could not have. I had no say in my treatment. It was confusing and it was scary. And that's where I was stuck for at least 3 years, scared and confused. In that time, my children, 3 of my children had come to help me. And then they went on their way, and then my mother come to help me. And here I was again, a baby and dependent on a woman who I had, while coming to terms with who she was during that time, I also had to understand that this was a woman who I had never been allowed to be a baby to. And so for 2 weeks, everything was fine. After the 2 weeks, I think reality set into her, and things got to be a little much. And we had a falling out and that whole thing. So we sent her back home. And so now I'm here. I've got AIDS. I've been approved for some programs. So I've got AIDS and I've got people coming in, but for the most part, I'm alone. At this time, I don't know. I formulate a plan to leave and go back to Ohio because I've been sold a dream that everyone is going to have my back and help me. I went to Ohio for 10 months, and granted, I got great therapy and great services there, but emotionally and mentally, some things were going amiss physically. And I decided, because my husband said, it's time for you to come home. So I decided, okay. When I decided, after 10 months, I decided to come back. I didn't know how to do my own catheter. I had not learned to transfer from my bed to my chair. Yeah. And my mother-in-law, who lived next door, used to come and turn on the air and bring me food, and I just couldn't live that way. So I began to conquer fears, and move myself into controlling my body and controlling the things that I can't control, and not worry so much about what I can. And that was easy to start. It was hard to sustain. Yeah, there's so much more to this story. 6 years of learning that I am way more powerful than I understood previously. So this new configuration is showing me that I am capable of adapting and creating a better circumstance than I ever imagined. So, like, share, subscribe, and there's more to this story. And there's not just this story, but there's so many other things that I'd like to share. Have a great day.